y'all. Welcome back to Flannery Food Fridays. I'm Flannery, about to bake you up some food, and you guessed it, it's Friday! Let's get spooky. Today, we're whipping up a few of my favorite Halloween treats. Even though I never made them before, I'm sure they'll be favorites soon. Today, we are making witch's fingers. As you can see, she left behind her feet, so we're going to whip her up some fingers. And then we're also making some cheesy breadstick bones, because who doesn't like some cheesy bones? Alright y'all, as I mentioned, we're making a few different things. But to make our first cheesy bones, this is what you're going to need. You're going to need your dough. I've got biscuit dough, but I'm going to roll it out flat and hopefully it works. Also, for your cheesy fingers, you're going to need some Parmesan cheese. And lastly, I haven't scrambled my eggs yet, but you're going to do an egg wash. So I'm going to put my egg in my tiny cauldron, and we're going to put it on top before we bake it. Our next thing, we are making witch fingers. For witch fingers, you also need some dough. I'm going to roll it all out and split it. Also, in our witch fingers, we're putting some cheese in the center. So I got two different cheeses to mix together. I got mozzarella. I also got cheddar. Then you're going to need another egg wash in a tiny cauldron. We're also making a sauce to dip our breadsticks in because cheese and sauce and bread all go so good together. So to make my sauce, I use tomato paste, garlic, and a mix of seasonings that you can find in the description down below. I already mixed them to make it easier, but you'll see later. Alright y'all, our first step for both of our things that we're making today is to roll out the dough. So I put a little flour on my rolling pin to make it easier, but now we're going to roll it out. Fingers crossed this comes out how I hope. Now, how flat does it have to be? That is a fantastic question. I have no idea. We'll all figure it out together. And you might also be thinking, is that enough dough? Probably not, but we're just going to make a few. Oh, no. After you roll out your dough, do not forget to preheat your oven because you don't want to go to put your stuff in the oven and then not be heated. So, we're going to heat our oven to 400 degrees. Now that we have flattened our dough, I'm going to split it into two equal parts. Half for our bones and half for our fingers. Let's do that next. Now, we have half for our fingers and half for our bones. Let's move on. Alright y'all, we're going to start with our bones. To make our bones, you have to cut your dough that you've already cut again. I'm going to cut it into like maybe 4 pieces and we'll get 4 bones. So, here we go. Now, I know what you're thinking. That's not 4 bones, but I only cut 4 lines, so now I got 5 bones. Now, because I wasn't thinking clearly, I did not flour my cutting board, so we're going to have a hard time getting off this dough, but it's okay because we can fix it. We can fix anything. Baking is just science. It's okay if you don't know science. We'll learn it together. all the subjects. It's like architecture too, you know? It's like, gosh, I just don't know what to do sometimes. And you might be thinking, this is so hard. Well, I'm thinking the same thing, but I'm still doing it. So, now I'm going to form my bones. And you might be thinking, that looks nothing like a bone. And to that, I would say, how many bones have you seen in your life? Is it a human bone? Is it a dog bone? Is it a biscuit that they give your dogs that looks like a bone that they tell you is a bone? I don't know, but it's a bone, and I made it out of my dough. Alright, now if you're having a hard time assembling your bones, here's a pro tip. Use your scissors and just cut the dough right at the edges. You should have a sharp scissor because, you know, that helps. Now, does this look more like a bone compared to what it looked like before? Maybe. We'll see when it bakes. Alright, y'all. Now that all of our 5 bones are made into bones, I'm going to transfer them to the cookie sheet and add our egg wash and Parmesan cheese. Now, this egg wash helps make your bread flaky. Even though they're flaky breadsticks, they'll be even flakier now. Make sure to cover your whole bone because you want it to cook evenly and be golden on every single piece, because who doesn't like a nice golden bone? And now, after you put on your egg wash, you put your Parmesan cheese. You can just sprinkle it on. And if you have clumps, feel free to use your fingers to get the clumps out. It's fine, we're all friends, it doesn't matter, we share germs. Now you pull your bones aside and you move on to the next item, our witch fingers. So to do our witch fingers, I'm going to cut my dough into about 3 pieces and make 3 or 4 fingers. Here we go. Here we go, y'all. Let's make some fingers. You take your dough and you basically do what you just did with your bones, but you turn them into fingers instead of bones. So you put it right in the center of your dough. Now you might be thinking, that's a lot of cheese, but you'd rather have it too cheesy than bite into it and have no cheese. So once you add in your cheeses, you essentially do the same thing that you did with your bones, but you make them into fingers instead. So you grab your edges. I may have put a little too much cheese, but it's fine. Everything's fine. Now once you have it all closed up, you flip it over because you want your flat side on the top. Now you make your nail. You can use your own finger to compare because it's also a finger. Now once you make your nail, you move on to your knuckles. I use my toothpick because it's just easier to control for the knuckle, but for my nail, I use the knife. Alright, y'all, now we do our egg wash to our fingers. You might be thinking, those fingers, they don't look like fingers, especially that chunky guy. But maybe he's a thumb. I mean, you don't know. He looks like a thumb. Anywho, we're going to add our egg wash. Now, same as our bones, make sure you get it all over your fingers because you want them evenly browned and golden. Now, if you would like, you could also add Parmesan to the top of these. Let me decide if I want to do that. Now, once your bones and your fingers are on your pan, you put them into the oven for 10 minutes. Here we go, into my preheated 400-degree oven. While they're cooking, we're going to start on our blood dipping sauce. So here we go. I'm going to add it all into my saucepan and then put it on the stove. Here we go. Tomato paste. Then you add your garlic. Make sure to get it all out because you want to keep those vampires away on this Hallows Eve. Then you add all of your seasonings that I have already mixed together for you, but you can find down below. Let's pour them in next. Now, because I'm using a metal spoon, I have to be extra careful because I don't want to get burned. But let's grab some water. You should add about as much water as you have tomato paste. Then you stir it up. Ta-da! I have made you witch's fingers and bones. Now we taste test. Alright y'all, now that my breadstick bones and my witch cheese fingers are done, we're going to do a taste test. Alright y'all, we're going to start with our breadstick bones. And I'm going to dip them into my blood sauce that I have in my nice little cauldron. Wow, that tastes like a bone breadstick. Yum. I'm going to save that for later as I try my cheese and witch fingers next. Now, I'm going to try my thumb. You might be thinking, what happened to it? I'm not sure it got baked in the oven, but I'm sure it tastes great. That tastes just like a cheesy witch finger. I have some cheese stuck in my teeth. Alright, y'all. Now, I think they both taste pretty good, but if I had to pick on looks, I would definitely go with my bones, because my bones look so good. They look like real bones. So they would win the looks contest. But if I had to do a taste testing contest, my fingers would win by far because they're so cheesy on the inside and on the outside. Thank y'all so much for joining me on this week's episode of Flannery